So you'll want to know a little bit more about sex, sexy sex, and pleasure. So I want to talk to you straight up about cervical orgasms and my experience with these elusive, delicious things. 4 years ago, I had very bad vaginal thrush, and I think I had vaginal thrush for a few years. Like, it was really bad, and I hadn't had sex, proper painless sex, in a very long time. And this is not something that I've spoken a lot about, and maybe I will speak about it more, but basically just know it was a long journey and not a lot of sex was had at that time, and that was fine. But it also created stuff for me around sex and pleasure, and I knew that I was missing out on quite a lot of exploration. So around this time, or just after, as this was starting to clear, so about 3 or 4 years ago, I heard about these things called cervical orgasms. And basically what I heard was that there's this thing called the cervix, which we all know about, that can actually experience pleasure. And all I'd ever felt was pain when we talked about the cervix, or when I had sex and the penis was on the cervix, right? So I know you've all, as women, probably felt that when there's like, it's too far in, maybe you're making love and suddenly it hurts. This is your cervix. And the reason why it hurts is because there's a lot of energy stored in there, a lot of tension that can come from belief, that can come from physical trauma, that can come from abuse, whatever. And I like to see it as a sore muscle. So if you've got tension here and you touch, it's sore, right? And if you don't have tension, it kind of feels a bit more pleasurable, or it feels like not much. Does that make sense? So you've got your beautiful uterus inside of your vagina. So you have your vagina and your uterus sits in there, and that is then sort of the guardian of your womb, you have your cervix, which is the guardian of your uterus. That makes sense. So the cervix is the bit that you can touch. It is also the bit that gets scraped when you get a pap smear. This thing goes through a lot. So I heard about this thing called the cervical orgasm, and it was supposed to be like absolutely amazing and a deeper type of orgasm. So for me, back then, I'd only really experienced clitoral orgasms, so just the real shallow orgasms that come from stimulation of the clitoris, and maybe a little bit of G-spot stuff. So basically, there's 3 types of orgasms. The clitoris orgasm, which again is like the more shallow type of orgasm. It's one that most people discover first. And then there's the G-spot orgasm, which is just inside the vagina. I won't give you any more of an anatomy lesson, but it's like a little bit of a walnut. It feels like a walnut, and it's just inside. You can also have a blended orgasm, where you have an orgasm which is happening at the same time with your G-spot and your clitoris, and then you have this cervical orgasm. So this is something that I knew was going to happen for me. You know those things when you hear about them and you know they're relevant to your life and you know they're going to come. And I tend to have the gift, I'm so lucky that I can have things like this and hold them pretty lightly nowadays. Maybe when I was younger, I was a little bit more desperate. I needed this and I needed it now. Now it's like, ooh, that feels good. Like, I know that's real. I know that that's something that I'm going to experience. I don't really know how, but I know it's going to come. So I would talk about it with people. I would occasionally watch a video on it. I would be curious. I would lean in. I would just hold space for knowing that it was going to come. I did also buy myself a dildo. I don't have it here with me, but it's a crystal dildo. So it's made of I think it's an onyx. It's a black crystal. And I started to play, not all that much, but with this technique called de-armoring. So with the tension that is held in your cervix, it needs to be released. And one way of doing this is the technique of de-armoring. And it's why you see all these crystal wands popping up everywhere. This is partly for this and other aspects of just women coming into contact with their vaginas. 1 second. Postman. I think he doesn't need me. Okay, so de-armoring is the process of the dildo's good to use. You can do it with a lover as well, but let's just say using a dildo for now. You can take control of your sexuality and control of your sexual healing without a partner. I promise you it's a good way to start. You might freak your partner out otherwise, depending on who your lover is. So you get your crystal dildo and you'll put it inside of you, and this is not about like it's not like this kind of frantic action. It's not a vibrator. It's not let's get an orgasm kind of job. De-armoring is a slow process of you gaining trust of your body. You're gaining your cervix's trust again. So you might have your dildo up inside of you, and you might find that you find the cervix and it is tender. Maybe it's a little bit sore in that spot. What you want to do then is hold it in that spot gently. You don't want to cause pain. Maybe it's discomfort, and that's okay. Hold it where it is and breathe into it. Allow your body to just be present with that sensation, and you will feel it start to relax. And then as you're breathing, maybe you'll feel a little bit of pleasure. Maybe you do want to touch yourself. Maybe feel free to create a pleasurable experience as well as being conscious around the tension that you're releasing. Gaining trust is a very soft, gentle, intuitive process as well. So feel free to tap into what feels good. But basically, that is de-armoring, and then you'll do that whenever you want. You can also do that with a partner. So what I found is as I got more comfortable in doing this, and I had a partner that I was very comfortable with, and I knew that we could communicate very well, when we were making love and we hit a spot that was a little bit sore, I would feel totally comfortable to say, oh, hey, would you mind just holding right there and breathing with me, because that's a part of my cervix that just needs a little bit of love and attention. And he would do that, and it was beautiful. And this is the first stage of being able to access these cervical orgasms, is to give attention to the cervix. I don't have very long because this video is only able to be 10 minutes long, but I want to give you a little story. Just recently I experienced being able to communicate from my emotions, so not communicating from story, communicating from my bodily sensations, and then realizing there was a memory and a belief there that had to come up as emotion. So it came up as tears, it came up as feeling this raw emotion, not around a story, but around maybe a belief that had been formed from things that I've experienced. And my partner was there, and he felt very safe because I wasn't blaming him for anything. I was owning my emotions as my own bodily experiences and my own processes, and so he was very loving. And this led to being very comfortable, and I felt really beautiful, and then we made love. And because I had just had this emotional release, and we've been diving very deep together, we made love and did some de-armoring that happened to happen, and my body, my cervix felt like it turned on. So I had already had a cervical orgasm, a couple maybe in the days previous, and this particular time it was like she really turned on. Like she was like, hi. And for the first time I truly felt what these women that I had heard about cervical orgasms from were talking about. This deep energy, this deep aliveness that is in the cervix, where she actually has a will, and she has such a strong energy that she's like, I know what I want, and if you let me, I will guide you towards what you need. And it's not even like what you need or what you want, it's just like this beautiful, strong, feminine essence power that we all have access to. Not just women. This is a thing too. As women, we're super deeply connected to it, and we do have uteruses, we do have cervixes, but I've shared this with men, and their feminine as well has even felt the truth of this, and they've felt into this as well. So this is about feminine essence, and as women, we are very lucky. We have a physical manifestation of it in our wombs and in our cervixes. So I'm running out of time, but thank you for listening, and I want to give you permission and invite you to explore all of this and allow yourself to be sparked by it and have fun.